Hi there, this is Srividya and I welcome you to today's quick session on Azure GIT Basics. Let's get started with today's agenda. As part of today's agenda for demo, we are going to cover Git introduction, Azure repos, how to commit the source code using Git bash, creating a feature branch using the Git command line, raising a pull request in Azure Git, and completing the pull request. So going ahead with introduction to Git, Git is a distributed version control system, which means you can commit and work on your code locally and then sync the copy of your repository with the copy of the server. So Azure Repos is a set of version control tools that you can use to manage your source code, and it helps you track the changes and revert to an older state of the code whenever required. I am currently in a folder called Git demo, and I have a couple of codes here which is written using Cypress, and my plan today is to commit this code into the Azure repos. Going to the Azure DevOps screen, so this is the place where I have created the organization, but I'm yet to create a repository. So I'll name my project as Cypress repo, and description, maybe I'll just say Cypress project or Cypress demo project. Next is visibility. We have public and private as options. Public repository, as it is mentioned here, says that anyone on the internet can view the project if they have the details particular to it, or if they just search it, or if they get the link to this repository, they'll be able to see it if I click on public as the visibility mode. If I click on private, I will be having complete access to this repository or the project, and I will decide who should have the access, and only those people who I add to this repository will be having the amount of access that I might have defined for them. Advanced options will talk about the Git version control. The version control that we are planning to use for this repository. It has got two options. One of them is Git and the other one is Team Foundation version control. We are going ahead with Git for the session. And then the other one is work item process. Based on your way of working, you can select it as Agile or Scrum or CMMI. However, I'm just going ahead with the basic for now. I click on create project and we can see that the repository gets created in no time for us. There you go. So we have a repository which is empty at the moment. This is the project, and if we go to the repos, we'll get to see the Azure repos. And it is saying that Cypress repo is empty and we can add some code here. Now, how to add the code, right? So before adding the code, let's see what it is trying to tell us. It's already giving us a link to clone this repository into our local repository. Cloning is just creating a copy of the project which is there in the server to our local copy. But we don't have a project in the server yet, right? So that's correct. But we can still initiate a copy of whatever we have. If it is empty, we can have an empty copy registered in our local, and then once we add the code, we can probably sync up that code with the server's copy. It has shown us some commands to push the existing repository, or if we are trying to import an existing repository, or otherwise if we are just going to go ahead with the main branch and initialize it. It is also giving us this checkbox that says it will be adding a README file, and if I don't want it, I can just click on no. I'll just click on initialize, and we just have a project with readme.md as the command. Let me just clone this to my local repository. So here, before I clone, I'll just create another folder called git local. Now I'll go into the git local and right click and give git bash here, so that a command line for entering git commands will appear on this for this path. So a prerequisite for this step is installation of git bash. I'll give you the steps of how that can be done in the description link below. Okay, so now the command to clone the repository that we have in the server to the local is git clone, and then I've copied the link that we had got near the clone button, and I give it like this, and it'll start cloning my Cypress repository. If I open it, it will have exactly those contents that is there in the repository. It had readme, and it did prompt us that it will be adding a git ignore or a .git file, and it has done the same thing. So now, if I go to the command line, you can see that it is still in the git local, but my code is about to be like, I'm supposed to put my code in Cypress repo folder. So I'll just navigate one folder ahead by giving cd Cypress repo. And now you can see that it is pointing to the main as the branch. Like by default, it is taking that the branch is main, and it is connected to the, it's showing that it is already present in this path. Now I'll go back to the folder which I had shown you initially, and I'll just copy all these contents except git local. So I've cut the contents and I'll paste it inside Cypress repo. Right. So now we have all the contents here. Let's go to the command line and give git status. So we are seeing all the files that we have and all the folders that we have here, and it says those are untracked files. Untracked files are the ones that we have in our local repository, but the ones that we have not probably added or committed into the Git. So I want to add all the files. I can say git add and mention the file name or the folder name if I want to add them. But since I have multiple files, I'll just give dot so that it will add all of them at once. So you can see that it is adding all of the files from all the folders and everything that I've just copied here into the folder that it was directed to in the main branch. Let's wait for it to finish. Okay, so now it has added all the files. And if I give git status, it says that everything is added. There's no file that has been shown as red color because like it's not saying that anything is untracked or something. That means we are good to go with the commit. So I'll just give git commit. -m stands for message, and adding a message here is kind of mandatory when we go ahead with this. I'll just give as initial commit because this is the first time I'm commenting into this repository, and I give enter. It should commit all of the objects that we just added into the Git repository. Okay, it's removing the duplicates and that's it. It's already committed it. But if I go to this Azure Git and see, are my changes reflected here? I won't be able to see those changes because whatever I've committed is not yet pushed into the repository, right? So whatever I've just committed is now in the staging area. It's an intermediate place between the local and the server repository. So now if I want to push the code from staging area to the Git remote repository, I just have to give git push. And it is pushing the branch and the code which I have added in the Cypress repo folder. And now since it is pointing that it's in the main branch, a main branch would be created here with those values. With those files rather. Okay, so this is how we add all our codes into the main branch of a particular repository. What if I want to create a feature branch? Before I talk about feature branch, let me explain you why do we need a feature branch. Let's say I'm working on a project and there are multiple changes for that project, and it's like now, for example, in this project, I'm going to go ahead with some new feature or a new functionality needs to be added. So I'm not sure if this will work or not because I'm just trying it out, right? So I don't want to disturb the code that is already present here in the main, but at the same time, I don't want any code in my local repository. I want them committed in the I want it in the Git repository. So what I do is I just give git checkout -b and I create a branch called as maybe feature. And now a feature branch is created, and that branch will have the contents exactly same as whatever we have in the main. So I can continue to work on this feature branch until and unless I'm sure that it can be merged with this main branch. So on a daily basis, I can make all the changes that I wanted to make and keep committing it into the feature branch. And once I'm very sure that this is the code that can go to production, or the one that can be, finalized, I can just merge it into main and communicate it to the teams that the latest code is present in the main branch. I just created a feature branch. Let's go to branches and see what just happened. Oh, sorry, we won't be able to see it unless we push it. So I'll just give git push. Okay, it says origin and we have to give push. Right, now it is just pushing the new branch. I just created another branch, and that change I have just pushed. Let me just refresh this and see if, okay, there is feature branch which has been created here. Now if I open it, will have exact contents as that of main. So it is based out of the branch which is main. And let me say that let's say that we have to make some change in this feature branch. Now as part of change, I'll just create maybe a new text file here. So that's a change, right? This is the additional change that I've made. And if I want to push this changes into the feature branch, let me see how to do it. I'll just give git status, and it says new text document is a untracked file. Same thing goes again, whatever we just did a few minutes back, we're just repeating it. Git commit -m added a txt file. We have to follow the convention. I have to say .txt file. All right. So now you see that once I click on enter, this change is going to the feature branch, and you will be able to see the newly added file in the feature branch, but not in the main branch. I'll just give git push origin feature. It should push the latest file that I have just added. So let me check in the feature branch. I'll just refresh this, and I'm sorry, if I go to repos, yeah, new text document which is committed just now is available here. But if you change the branch to main, you won't be finding that feature file, that text document here, the change in the feature branch here. So that is when the concept of pull request comes. Let's say that I have finalized that we need an empty text file in the main as well, or in the final code. So now I'm planning to merge this main branch and feature branch. The moment I commit something or add something to the feature branch, Azure Git will automatically suggest me that I have updated the feature branch and I have to create a pull request. Like, do I want to create a pull request? So I give on create a pull request, and it already types whatever I was about to type for me, right? So it just says added a text document and add a text file. So if you're working in a dedicated team, when you merge these changes into main branch, you might want someone to review it for you, because you might not be really sure of the functionality, or maybe the code reviews to be done or something. So since nobody else has access to this repo, I'll just give my name, which in the ideal case you might not be doing, because someone else always reviews your code and you don't review your code just to merge it into main branch. Anyway, I'll just click on create. So now I can see that the pull request gets created from feature into main. And now this comes to me for approval, because I've just added myself as an optional reviewer, and required reviewer, even at this stage, if you want to add, you can just assign people. I'll again give my name just to show you how to do that. I'm sorry, I missed it. Yeah. Okay, I've already added my optional reviewer. Maybe that's why. I'll just remove it, and I could have made it as make it as required reviewers, but yeah, that's how. So now I have added the reviewer. it has come to me only for the approver, and whatever changes you did have been just logged here. If you feel that this is not correct, let's say I am a reviewer now and I did not like the changes, how do I know what are the changes? I can go to updates and see that this is the commit, last commit. I click on this, I'll get to see what was the latest change. It says just one new document was added and I don't like it. I don't think that it is required, so I can comment it here as a reviewer, remove .txt file, and then I can comment it. Maybe whoever like this will go back to the developer, and then the developer will understand that this txt file has to be removed, and then he can remove or something. But I just tried to show it to you. If I'll just complete this commit, I'll give approve and complete. When I click on complete, it will say that it's going to complete by deleting the feature after merging and complete the associated work items after merging, which sounds good. It basically means that it's going to merge all the changes into main and it's going to delete the feature branch. I'm okay with that. So a PR1, pull request 1, the name of that is added a .txt file. Pull request, if you go to pull request, there is no active pull request, but the completed ones, you'll be able to see it here. And if you go to the repositories, you can see a main branch with new text document .txt here, and if you go to branches, you will be able to see that there is only one branch, because during the merge it did say that it's going to delete the feature branch. That's it, guys. That's about how to commit a basic code and raise a pull request for merging it into the main branch. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much.